Hey, so in this video I'm going to be sharing with you how I release fear and how I see my mental health in an empowering way that allows me to grow and heal really fast. So this past year for me has been a lot about fear. And one thing I will tell you about fear is that many people have a sort of trauma with fear where their fear wasn't validated, it wasn't taken seriously, and it wasn't respected. So what that looks like is it's honestly quite common in the distorted masculine for men to use fear as a form of charm or scare women and think it's funny. And no shame if you do this, but I'm bringing awareness to this pattern. Teenagers might think that scaring people is funny or charming, and it's this programming in society that kind of associates love with boundary violations and love with harm and connection with boundary violations. So if you have this sort of trauma with your fear, where you were never comforted or you weren't supported when you were feeling fear, you may have a lot of trapped and stored fear in your body. It may be a suppressed emotion for you, and it definitely has been for me on my journey. Fear has been a very suppressed emotion. When we grow up in childhood trauma, oftentimes we have to suppress our fear because there's only a certain amount of emotional pain that a child can process in the moment. But now that you're an adult, you are so powerful and you actually hold the immense ability to process your fears and allow your body to bring up these emotions. And how this kind of works for me is that as I progress on my healing journey and processing things from my past, my body will call the shots. So when my body feels that it is time to release a specific trauma or a specific stored emotions are stored in our body, it will release it. And I had this moment where I set this intention. I knew that it was time to call back my fear into my body to be processed. And when I did this, what was created was an onset of what is called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, for me. And through the onset of this PTSD, how I handled it was I've experienced flashbacks, and how those manifest for me is through involuntary gasping. It's like that. And what was happening during this release process was every time I'd gasp, I was aware of my thoughts. And I could see exactly what memory was triggering the gasp and the fight or flight response. I could feel the pain from my past that was never fully processed. And with each gasp, I like to call it not PTSD, but PTSR, a post-traumatic stress release. What I was experiencing was these gasping, and that was my body releasing stress from traumatic moments in my life. That's how I view my body. And by viewing my body like that, I really believe that our bodies don't work against us. I really truly believe that our bodies don't work against us. And so with that lens of knowing that my body doesn't work against me, I understood that by embracing the release and processing the thoughts and processing all the feelings that were coming up, that I was really healing myself, and I was really releasing things and allowing myself to transform and grow in really beautiful ways. So that's what releasing fear has looked like for me. It comes up in the form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress releases. So I do a lot of meditation. I've been doing a lot of meditation for many years. And what that means is that I'm aware of all of my thoughts, most of them. So even when my mind is racing, usually I can see every thought and memory that is going in my body. And meditation is the skill that develops that awareness. Before we meditate, we often have many, many thoughts, maybe anxiety or stressful thoughts that kind of just go on in the background of our unconscious. But as we meditate, we bring more awareness to ourselves. Our inner world expands. And it's already been expanded, but our awareness of our inner world expands, and we begin to see every thought that is going on. So this is how I have released fear, by being able to see exactly where the cause of each flashback was coming from, feeling the feelings and embracing that release to allow my body to really heal itself. A beautiful person in my life has related PTSD to hiccuping. It's kind of like PTSD for me is like a hiccup of my brain. When you have to hiccup, it's like your stomach really has to release air. And that's what PTSD is for me. My body is needing and wanting to release this stored survival energy that is in my body. If you want to know more about emotions being stored in the body, there's a movie on Gaia, a streaming platform, and I think it's called E-Motion. And I would recommend that documentary. When I watched that documentary, it's part of the knowledge that has allowed me to see my body in this beautiful way and allow myself to really work with my body, you know what I mean? Because that's what most of us really need, is to see our body as something that wants to heal, something that knows how to heal. Like, we are intelligent beings, really intelligent beings. Like, how is my heart beating right now? And there's blood flowing through my veins. When I get a cut, my body heals it. And when I get emotional scars, our bodies heal it as well. Our emotional scars, they know how to heal, but we have to embrace it and work with the body. And so fear for me can sometimes manifest in the form of panic attacks. And it's a skill to control them. As I've experienced them, my window of tolerance has increased, which means that I'll just say this. Understanding what is causing the panic attack helps me regulate. And I embrace my panic attacks whenever I have them, because I can see usually where it's coming from. It's a release of stored panic, a release of stored fear, that if you're able to regulate yourself, you can allow that fear to pass through you. In the US, 988 is available for everyone at any time for mental health support if you're having a panic attack. They can guide you through breathing practices. They can speak to you and let you vent to them. One thing that works really well with 988 is to really explain to them what you need. So if you need breathing, be clear with them. If you need to vent, be clear about that you really just want someone to talk to, or that you need connection, or whatever that is. So I say that to give you some more courage. If you need 988 but you feel afraid to call, always reach out for help if you need it. But we are so strong. Humans are so strong. You know what I mean? You are so strong. And I really want you to know that and believe that and see that about yourself, how strong you are. The fact that you're on this video shows how strong you are, that you're healing, that you're growing. And we must not underestimate the healing power of the body. We must not underestimate it. As if we embrace it, we really allow the body to do exactly what it knows how to do. So back to the panic attacks. one tactic of abusers has a lot to do with stifling your fear. And this is actually a tactic for every emotion, not just fear. What abusers really need from people and their victims is for them to be disconnected from their emotions and suppressing their emotions. So, if you suppress your fear, you are more vulnerable to abusers because you're not feeling the fear that tells you that someone is dangerous. In the wild, with animals, we feel fear of wild animals because they are a threat to our survival. And abusive people can be a threat to our emotional or spiritual survival. And when we have our fear intact, we can really trust our body's instincts. When we are walking around at night, especially for all the women on my channel, if you're ever on a walk at night, sometimes you feel fear for no reason, and that's your intuition. And if you didn't have that fear, there would be more opportunities for bad things to happen, you know what I mean? So emotions, the unsuppression of emotions, are really important when it comes to protecting ourselves. One pattern that I've noticed in my consciousness is the projection of fear onto objects. So we may associate our fear with the physical environment because at some point what we were actually afraid of, we weren't able to accept. For example, if you had a narcissistic parent, you couldn't accept that you were afraid of your parent. So what happens is we become afraid of the dark, or afraid of the ceiling fan, or afraid of our bedroom. We project those fears onto our environment, and it's kind of a form of narcissistic triangulation, where instead of looking at the actual threat in our lives, we project it onto something more comforting, something that doesn't hurt as bad, and something that doesn't create a revelation that has as many consequences. Especially with narcissistic parents, there are lots of consequences, positive and negative, that come with seeing the truth about them. And I'll say that again, positive and negative, that come with seeing the truth about them. But for a child, the consequence of seeing the truth of them is far outweighed. So we begin to develop fears of the dark, or objects. So we can kind of start recognizing what is innocent in our mind. The darkness is innocent. Our bedroom is innocent. Our rooms, all objects are innocent. They're incapable of not being innocent. We could also see this with bugs. A lot of people, instead of looking at the fear from the people in their lives, they project that fear onto bugs. Yeah. Yeah, I love bugs. But, yeah. So, and even disgust. When we see something that is morally wrong, as humans, we feel disgust. And when there's someone in our lives that we can't safely express that disgust or fear for, we start projecting it onto our environment, onto bugs, onto animals. And people in deep narcissistic consciousness have this projection the most. But we all can project onto things. And we can have compassion for ourselves and our bodies, for how our body has really tried its best to keep us safe. throughout our whole life in these beautiful ways. Like, how amazing is that? That to protect you as a kid, your body can attach an emotion to an object so that you don't get too overwhelmed. That's amazing. That's amazing. And it's through this like deep understanding of the self that we really take our power back as human beings. This deep understanding. On that note, I do have a journaling framework. I love to journal. I've been journaling for 6 years. And because I love it so much and because it's helped me so much on my journey, I made a framework that helps you guide yourself to revelations and awareness and insights about yourself to help you understand yourself. So basically, 5 steps. And it basically teaches you how to guide yourself, how to listen to your own body, how to listen to your own mind and your soul's wisdom so that you can evolve. Because really, you are your best healer. You are your best teacher. Your body knows. Your soul has a path that it came here to do. It has work and lessons that it's here to learn. And so I created that framework to allow you to flow with your own path and your own life. I'm not the authority over your life, you are. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how this video resonated with you. If you have any stories, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to join the community. And I love you.